The first question we have is from a user called Yassine, and it is: what is the UK doing regarding the criminal activities and war crimes committed by Israel against the people of Gaza?
Well, I was in the Middle East quite recently, earlier this week, and went down to the border with Gaza. The situation there is a humanitarian disaster of very large proportions. The most important thing is that we make clear that there needs to be the delivery of humanitarian aid in the short term. But obviously, in anything like the medium term, where you want a decent settlement, Gaza needs to become part of a Palestinian state that is able to run its own affairs in a way that delivers for its own people and delivers security for Israel, and that's the basis on which we're trying to move forward.
Okay. The next question we have is from a user called Mark Owen, and it's: will President-elect Barack Obama have any influence over the UK's foreign policy?
Well, we'll work very closely with Barack Obama. He's set out a foreign policy agenda that identifies similar priorities to our own in Afghanistan and Pakistan, seeking to ensure that those democratic governments are able to support themselves in respect of the Middle East peace process, trying to take forward a two-state solution. In respect of climate change, he's announced this week commitments that mirror those of the UK, and also in terms of reforming the big international system, the United Nations and elsewhere, making sure that they're properly representative for the modern world. Those are all areas where we'll work closely with the new American administration.
Following on from that question, there is another one about Barack Obama, and it is from Sarah Smith, and it is: when Obama inevitably takes the US to war with Pakistan, how do you intend to get the UK?
I don't see, there's nothing inevitable about that. I think quite the opposite. I mean, we've worked very hard to support a democratic civilian government in Pakistan. It's been established. That government is now getting international economic support under an economic plan developed by President Zardari. I will be in Pakistan next week meeting all of Pakistan's politicians and civic and community leaders and talking about how we can support Pakistan, because terrorism is a threat not just to us here in the West, it's actually a threat to Pakistan. I mean, the President of Pakistan is now the widower of Benazir Bhutto, who was murdered not by Westerners but by a Pakistani. And so that is the basis of a real collaboration with Pakistan, far from going to war with them.
Okay. We have another question, which is: do you think it is time to abolish the concept of veto power in the United Nations Security Council?
I think it's important. There are 5 countries that have got veto power, the permanent members of the Security Council. I think that's important, and I think we should keep it, but I think we should reform the Security Council so there are more countries with veto power. We've long advocated an expansion of the Security Council to include countries, for example, like India or Japan, major players in the international scene, because at the moment the UN veto powers do reflect the world as it was, not the world as it is.
Which foreign leader has surprised you the most since you became Foreign Secretary?
Surprised me the most? That's quite a hard question to answer. I think that what's been striking to me about working with foreign ministers, a lot of them are diplomats, and some of them are politicians like myself. And what I think is most striking is that as soon as you enter the club, you're treated like a full member of the club. And it's not really the sort of area where you have surprises, but yesterday I had breakfast with the Finnish foreign minister, and when he produced the gifts that one traditionally exchanges, he'd bought at Helsinki airport some things for my kids of the Moomins, who are these Finnish cartoon characters, and so that was my latest surprise, I think.
Do you think al-Assad will bring democracy to Syria, and is that important in these days?
Well, I think that human rights are important in Syria, and political accountability is important in any country. I discussed with President Assad on Monday the significance of Syria's potential role in the Middle East. It has responsibilities and choices to make about its relations with Iraq, about its relations with Lebanon, and about its relations with Israel. And I urged President Assad to make a choice of being a force for stability. And there are some indications of his willingness to do that, but there are also continuing concerns about, for example, Syrian links with Hezbollah, an armed group in Lebanon. So I think that it's very, very important we engage Syria. I think Syria is an important country, not just with a great history, but with real potential to play an important role in the future, but it has to make the right choices.
Finally, aren't a lot of the problems in the Middle East and South Asia the result of some English lord drawing lines on a map in the early 20th century. How could England get past this?
Well, I think that is a reference to the Durand Line, which is the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and was drawn up, as the questioner says, by someone from the Foreign Office. Now, if you come to the Foreign Office, there are plenty of reflections of past failures as well as past successes. I don't think that bans us from having a say in the future. I think we've got to do it with a degree of humility. I don't deny the problems that have existed in the past, but I think we've got to learn from them, not live in them.
Okay, David, thank you very much for taking the time and answering questions for use.com.
Take care. Thanks a lot.